Hello guys, today I want to touch very interesting for me topic. Let's say I want to learn Zend Framework 2. How I'm gonna do it, how I'm gonna start. Because I saw people which are asking questions, okay, what if we don't have modules, how do we start? So let's touch that. First, if I want to learn Zend, the best source of course is framework Zend learn. Let's say I want to learn about the service manager, which is the service locator implementation design pattern in Zend Framework 2, and I go to Zend Framework 2. I look for service manager, for example. Here we go, Zend Service Manager, and I want to try the code here. How I'm gonna do it? Okay, so first I have to get somehow a Zend framework library and start from scratch. As usual, I'm starting from scratch. One way to do that is just go to Zend framework. Let me open another tab. Framework Zend, and download a zip file. Download now, and here you can download the zip file. But I want to show you another approach. What if I want to use a composer? You may also install Zend Framework 2 as a whole or as individual components via Composer or Pyrus. This is the packaging system in PHP, and the most modern probably is Composer. Pyrus is the successor of Peer, this package management system. Okay, we're gonna use Composer. So those are the URLs where you can download Zend Framework 2, and this is the URL where you can read about the different components. Zend Framework is a component library, is not a framework. It becomes a framework at the moment you start using the MVC. You use different modules at will. Actually, it's a framework as well, because you can use it this way, but it's not absolutely obligatory. So, Composer, we are going to use this approach to get Zend. Get Composer is the URL. We go there, and if we hit get started, we'll see how actually we can get the Composer, and after that through the Composer get Zend Framework. Let's do that. I have prepared of course a mind map, but this is for later. Right now I just want to show you how to get started with Composer and Zend Framework 2. There used to be time when Zend didn't have even Zend application component, which means that you just download the component library, you put it in a folder. It's up to you to decide. There also was not the package manager Composer. It's also up to you to decide where to put the library, how to make it available. Usually we used to use include path, and after that how to use it. Right now we have a skeleton application which is a jump start, but if we don't want to use it, how can we start? And by the way, I'm on the old machine, Windows XP, with relatively old PHP. It's 5.3 something, we'll see right now. So I'm gonna call this folder Zend Framework 2 tests. So let's say I want to make tests. I just open this folder. How shall we start? Okay, so open prompt. Let me look at my PHP version. -v on this computer. Okay. PHP 5.3.5. To 2011, so it's pretty old. In the next tutorial I'm gonna show how to create this in Windows 7 and with the newest, not the newest, but a newer version of PHP. It turns out there is a difference, and this is why I'm doing this tutorial. Okay, so Php Zend Frame tests. There, the directory is absolutely empty. Let's get first Composer. Composer is a PHP archive PAR file, so you can download it at the bottom here. You can see how you can do that. Here we go. At this URL you can go and download Composer, and after that place it in this folder. But I'm gonna use another method, and the method which I'm gonna use is this one. Even though I have curl, I can use curl, but I'm gonna use PHP because you definitely probably have already PHP. My assumption will be that you have at least PHP installed if you wanna work with PHP. If you wanna learn how to do that, how to obtain PHP on your Windows machine, you can watch my other tutorials. So I'm gonna copy first this line, paste it here, and notice something. If you copy the entire line, let me do that, you'll see that nothing happens. This is what I notice on the Windows XP, and that's why I'm gonna show you a different approach. So if I hit now PHP -R read file blah blah, see, nothing happens. The file is not here. The installation didn't work for some reason. Okay, there, nothing. So what I did is I did it in 2 steps. This is a pipe. In Unix system, you just link the output from this command to the input of this command, but as you can see on XP doesn't work. But there is a workaround. So paste, and after that you say, for example, Composer Installer PHP. So whatever is the output of our command will go to a file. Oh, I made a mistake. Composer Installer PHP. Okay, so it doesn't make any difference, but still. Okay, Composer Installer PHP. If you open the file, you will see that there are commands inside. Let me do that just for curiosity to see how it looks. Okay, here we go. User bin environment PHP blah 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 blah. As you can see, what we have done with this command is, in fact, we have downloaded the PHP file. Now we are gonna execute it, and that's it. PHP Composer Installer PHP. This is actually what we have downloaded with the first command, and here we go. We have Composer PAR. Voila, the first step is done. Now we have Composer, which will help us to download Zend Framework 2. Will generate one file for us, which we're gonna use in our applications just to be able to instantiate the classes, autoloader PHP. So now let's make sure that this works. PHP Composer PAR, that comes from PHP archive list, to see all the commands available. Here we go. I want to see the version, probably. Validate, why not? Let's say that. Let's try that. Help, search self, show status, update, validate, and we can run first PHP Composer self-update, and let's see what do we have here. Let's compare with the versions we have here. Last snapshot, as I said, if you click here, for example, you will get the same file, composer par. Okay, now the next thing to do is get Zend Framework. So we are done with Composer. Just for curiosity, let me click here on Alpha. No, I don't want to do that. I just wanted to see this SHA fingerprint. If we go to the Git repository, we can see it, but I'm not going to do it right now. So let's continue right now, as I said, with installing Zend Framework 2 and creating something simple. Okay. As usual, I made myself a cup of tea and I have fun doing all these things. So eventually it's gonna be helpful for me and somebody else. Okay, so Zend packages, latest downloads, and they say you may also install Zend Framework 2 through Composer. How can we install through Composer? Almost all PHP projects are available for installation through Composer. So what you have to do is you have to browse the packages. Now you're armed with a tool which will allow you to download almost everything you need from the PHP world. So let's look at the packages. They are here on the packages.org. Let's look for Zend Framework. Here we go. And the last is 2.3.x Here you can see what you have to do, what you have to add in your Composer JSON file. In order to make Composer download something, you can create, it's not absolutely necessary, you can create a Composer JSON file. And all we have to add in this file is just, let me help myself a little bit because I don't remember everything. Zend Framework 2, test services 2, Composer JSON, copy something from other project, require, oops, sorry, just require Zend Framework is enough. And you have to, of course, put the version which you want to download. This is something I want to show you right now. Where Opini actually in his last not publication but last email in the mail group is asking everybody from the community to check the last version before it becomes a release. So this is actually what we have to put here. Let me check again in my files. Composer for, actually I have it here. Here it is, the letter of Opini. Require def, blah blah. Autoloader. Composer. Bootstrap. Let me look here. Def master. Def master def. Okay, so let's see if what they recommend actually is gonna work. I know it's not gonna work. This is what I wanna show you right now. On XP and my version of PHP, let me show again, -p version 5.3.5, Zend for some reason doesn't want to be installed with Composer, cannot be installed with Composer. Okay, now all we have to do is just say PHP Composer Install. And here we go, we got errors. It says problem 1 blah 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 blah, potential reasons, a typo in the package name, or the package is not available in the stable enough version. Okay, so let's say minimum stability def, minimum stability def, just to make sure this is not the problem. Okay, here we go. Right now we are trying to download from the packages which are publicly available in the packages in the Composer. Let's run it again. Okay, same story. So whatever is set here is not true. The problem is not in the stability. The problem is not a typo. I checked that. After that I will prove it in the next tutorial that this is not the problem. Obviously the problem is somewhere else. And I discovered that the problem is probably the version of the PHP or the XP. But since version 2.3 I cannot install anymore Zend Framework 2 through Composer. Probably I have to send email to the mailing group asking why. Maybe there is explanation, and probably there is explanation which I never heard about, so I will keep seeking. If somebody knows, can let me know. Okay, so if I do something like that, okay, 2.3. Whatever, we'll get the same error. Just let's try. Here we go, our next attempt. Again the same problem. So it doesn't work with the development, it doesn't work with version 2.3 something. Let's try now to put something like that. This way is gonna work, or if I use 2.2 also it's gonna work. In both cases it's gonna install 2.27, the latest 2.2 version. It's gonna install 2.27 in both cases which I just showed. So it doesn't matter I do it this way or with 2. Is gonna install 2.7. Let's try. Here we go. So here is the threshold. On this computer those versions above don't work. This is XP and I show it to you PHP 5.3.5. Let's try now this way. Voila, it works this time. Here we go. As a proof, let's look at the folder, tests, and we can see vendor and composer log file. In vendor we can find Zend Framework to install. Library, here we go. The most important thing is the autoload PHP, which you just have to require in your PHP scripts in order to use Zend or other project, or yeah, another library or whatever you have installed. Zend Framework 2 tests. Okay, so let's look at that in the Composer. manual installation, blah blah. Getting started. If you read getting started, at the end it says auto loading. So this is a bonus which you get from Composer. All you have to do is just require vendor auto load, and all the classes in this project will be available. So let me create a simple test file, PHP, to show this concept. Okay. This is all you have to do in order to use Zend. Zend also has its own autoloader, which needs to be configured. Echo, this is my test. This is my test. Okay, so let's run it. PHP, it's called test PHP. It should say this is my test. Yeah, here we go. So everything works fine. So far, so good. Now, if you want to start experimenting with Zend, you're free to do it. You just can copy and paste the code from here, code examples, and if there are no errors, you'll get results, and you can start flying. Of course, you can install the packages one by one. You don't have to install the entire Zend framework too. Another way to install Composer Zend framework is by using a command, not creating the Composer file, and the Composer JSON file will be created by Composer for you, but I did it manually. I just created the file. Also, you don't need the stability here to allow development. It works this way. Also, I tried. So now let's start with a simple experiment, and that's it for this tutorial. Let me see if I have something interesting here. Maybe main. So let's start testing, for example, the autoloader. Let's register autoloader. It's strange what I did. Oh, main, here we go. So display errors 1. This command, actually this function, helps you to set the PHP variable to 1, so you can see the errors eventually, if there are any. Main, here we go, require, which comes from Composer, and let's configure, for example, our test. Let's say you wanna have, following the PSR 0 recommendations, pretty standard really, you want to have your classes, files with the classes, in the folder Stoyan. So you create source folder. Inside you're gonna create Stoyan. Of course, the file structure is something up to you. You have to decide on the file structure. For example, it's decided for us already in the Zend skeleton application. You can change this file structure. This is how you start. Actually, I have started many times this way, not using the skeleton application, but doing everything from scratch. And before, in Zend Framework 1, you didn't have any other options. You just have to learn the file structure, you have to study, you have to decide on the file structure, and I have to say that my file structure was pretty close to what Zend finally standardized, if there is such standardization. Okay, so let's see here, what do we have in main? Okay, that's it. I don't even need to have classes there, files with the classes, just the file structure for any case, just to show you how to do it. Here I can call this my class PHP. In C# and Java you don't have to do that. You don't have to create autoloaders in order to load your classes. But here in PHP we have to take care of that. Of course, PHP comes with other bonuses and other magical things. Every technology has its own magic. PHP test PHP. Okay, so let's see if this works now. This is how you define an autoloader for the namespace Stoyan. So here in the folder Stoyan, my class, it should be in the namespace Stoyan. So PHP namespace Stoyan. And here how you define a class. My class, and so on and so forth. So let's try now to instantiate my class here. Okay, we'll say my object, because this is gonna be an object instance, new, and here we'll say Stoyan my class. We don't have to put brackets here, but we will, as we do in C# and Java. So Stoyan my class, and here we go, I class. Oops. Okay, double S, I'm using here double S. My object. Hopefully that works. This is my test. As you can see, no complaints, no errors, so the autoloader works right now. Here you can, as I said, start learning Zend. And for example, if you're interested in Service Manager, which is a very interesting implementation of the Service Locator design pattern, Service Manager. If you want to read about the Service Locator design pattern, you can do it in the wiki. There is a link. Service Locator. So the Service Locator part is design pattern used in software development to encapsulate the process involved, blah blah. So in other words, it plays the role of the registry. Before we have a registry in Zend Framework 1, but it was suspended. We are not using it anymore because it's not a very good practice. So Service Manager, and in the Service Manager actually you have two methods in the interface, and Zend adds more: service, registration, lazy loaded service object. Those are the classes. So you can load classes. The Service Locator will instantiate objects of the classes. Factories. The factories are producing objects and giving to you. Factories, which is the fallback. Service aliasing before the abstract factories. You can see all these things and you can start playing. For example, let's say now I want to instantiate one Service Manager. I'm gonna go back to my test file, and I'm gonna say Service Manager new. It's Zend Service Manager, Service Manager, Zend Service Manager, Service Manager. This is a proof that the autoloader is gonna work, and you have the freedom to do whatever you like with your code. This is my test. Here we go, we have a Service Manager now, and we can say, for example, Service Manager standard class blah 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 blah, and we will try the service registration on the service manager. We'll leave the service manager for another tutorial. Also the dependency injection container. Okay, so service manager PHP test. Here we go. Password. This is a demonstration how the service manager actually contains, how you set a value, my foo, and after that how you retrieve it. Service manager get my foo. So this service actually has been instantiated and assigned to this key, my foo, this map dictionary data structure, and you just after that everywhere in your application where you have in scope the service manager, you can call it and say, hey service manager, give me foo, give me the service foo, because I need it in my application. As I said, the service manager actually offers you much more things. You have the freedom to set services, to set factories, to set also aliases, to set abstract factories, which are a fallback if the service is not discovered. The service manager looks in the abstract factory and asks the abstract factory, hey, can somebody produce this object? Can somebody instantiate this object and give it to me? Create this object, construct this object is probably the right term, and give it to me. If yes, the service will be given. Also initializers, and the service manager works very well with dependency injection component, which actually supplies the service manager with abstract factories and initializers. Okay, so let me, I don't see my mind very well here in this small resolution, which I have to use here because I have to create a video on 72 dpi, and not 72 dpi but 720p. Okay, so we have a problem with the browser obviously here. Delegate service factories, lazy services. Okay. Here we go. Abstract factories, aliases, factories, invocables, services, shared. Okay. So this is for this tutorial. I showed to you actually, let me make a summary, where and how to find a composer, how to start from scratch a new experimental project with Zend. You can add of course other libraries or other projects with the composer, everything what is available in composer. So I show it to you how to install composer, how to get it, put it in a folder. After that, how to get Zend Framework, this particular project with composer. I show it to you that for all the computers which are not supported anymore, XP is not supported anymore by Microsoft probably, or for all the versions of PHP. I will figure out what the problem is. You can install only versions 2.2 something. Version 2.3 of Zend Framework doesn't work. In the next tutorial I'm going to show you how on the newest computer, in my, not my newest, but in a Windows 7 computer with PHP 5.5, everything works. Composer works. Okay, so I showed to you how to download and install Composer, and how to download and install Zend Framework with the Composer and start experimenting with Zend components. If you don't want to use the skeleton application and you want to build your own skeleton application, I have to say that Apigility, the newest project of Zend, is nothing else but Zend Framework project with different skeleton. That's it, nothing else. This is a great learning opportunity to use Zend this way. Thank you for watching this tutorial. And of course you can comment, subscribe and rate if you like. Thank you again and see you soon.